$9.7 trillion to offshore banks. These are a bunch of Bernard Madoff scam artists that created all this fiat currency to buy the world, and now they're saying a new world bank, Bank of the World, all over the news, will save us and we'll pay carbon taxes to them on every facet of our lives. So see, now the media is forced, after all these years of saying there's no new world order, to admit there is, but Glenn Beck says, well, they might be building camps, but then he makes a joke about conspiracy theories and then says, but maybe they're needed. Maybe they're needed. So that's coming up. This is the supposed champion exposing all of this. It's just incredible. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, let's cut right back into the news, continuing with all the FEMA camp evidence. We really got concerned in the mid and late 90s when the FBI training manuals went public, flyers distributed to every major city department, small city departments. They put federally paid for anti-terror, anti-extremist police, and even small departments as few as 10 officers to become spying on the American people. We got video from firefighters and police from FEMA training seminars where they badmouth the Second Amendment, the Founding Fathers. That's in my film, The Road to Tyranny, free on Google and YouTube. Here's just one of the flyers. Call a member of the Phoenix FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, Investigator Al Shearer, Maricopa County's office, Federal Bureau of Investigation. And when you read the back of the flyer, just Google FBI flyer constitutional terrorist. You can then go read it and call the phone numbers on it and talk to the FBI if you'd like. And give me a close shot. I want to show folks the cover of the flyer. When you read in there, it says constitutional terrorist. People that make frequent references to the U.S. Constitution. People that say they believe in the Second Amendment are terrorists and need to be put in terrorism databases. Now, people thought this ended with Clinton. It expanded covertly under Bush. So there is just one of the many flyers and pieces of material on that. Continuing. Let's go ahead and play Congressman Brad Sherman, who we also interviewed here on the show. They were threatened with martial law. He wouldn't say on the show because of House rules in closed committee who threatened him. Later, Senator Inhofe went public from Oklahoma and said it was Ben Bernanke, head of the private Federal Reserve, and the head of the Treasury, Paulson at the time. This is all just expanded under Obama, hasn't gone away. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
From Ohio, the only way they can pass this bill is by creating and sustaining a panic atmosphere. That atmosphere is not justified. Many of us were told in private conversations that if we voted against this bill on Monday, that the sky would fall, the market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day, and a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no. That's what I call fear-mongering. Unjustified. Proven wrong. We've got a week, we've got 2 weeks to write a good bill. The only way to pass a bad bill, keep the panic pressure on.
All right.
Now, what has the Senate done?
All right. Now, I've gone through about 20 exhibits. There are over 100 exhibits. And this week or next week, I'm going to do 2 hours with no calls going through the exhibits. I'm going to pull all my research, all the bills, all the legislation, the whole history of the camps, mainstream media clips admitting it, but trying to sell it to the public. And we're going to do a full, half of the show, at least 2 hours on this subject, uninterrupted, with guest or calls. I want to challenge folks that after they watch this at prisonplanet.tv and it gets ripped to the web everywhere, which we appreciate, if you're watching this in a later part, be sure and watch the first few parts of the video. I imagine this will be 4 or 5 parts, because you need to see the background and the proof I went over of the camps, all admitted publicly for the American people, gun confiscation, forced inoculation, buying off city leaders, corporate leaders under InfraGard, the clergy response teams, all these terms I'm using Google. You'll have mainstream news, but always telling you how good it is, so that when I get into Glenn Beck here briefly, you understand. Because Glenn Beck over and over again on his radio show says basically arrest 9/11 truthers, send us to secret camps. It was a talking point on Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC. Use the army against Ron Paul supporters because they're domestic threats. Sean Hannity saying arrest all militia members. Every child needs a chip. I mean, these guys push a lot of sick stuff. And then Beck suddenly, when it's all announced as a world government, comes out and acts like he's fighting it. But then we'll mix into it. We've got to, Russia's a threat. Iran's a threat. We've got to do this. So I'm worried about the Bubbas and their guns. Maybe we need FEMA camps. I don't know if FEMA camps exist. Maybe they do. You know, I was going to cover it, but now I'm not because I'm still researching. Oh, I guess Fox is censoring me, you know, conspiracy theories, making a joke out of that when it's on record that all the major media is on government payroll and talking points. In fact, pull up some of the articles. I had you guys pull up some of the headlines. You just Google Pentagon paying for fake news in the U.S., White House paying for fake news in the U.S. It's now in the tens of billions every year. But when it came out, they just used one Armstrong Williams case and one at the New York Times where somebody was being paid off to lie about aluminum tubes. This is what's going on. So there's an Infowars.net story, but if you notice, I point you to our articles because when you go to Pentagon expands propaganda reach with foreign news websites, which they then admit are being pushed domestically, and then you can go to USA Today, you see a link there. You can go to the other mainstream news articles, see all those blue hyperlinks if you're watching on PrisonPlanet.tv. You can go to that story. Link to all of those. I've had Congress people on talking about how it's illegal, the fake news, the fake news reports they produced and put on radio and TV that were made by the government. All of this is being done. Fake polls, everything. So his joke about that is asinine. Let's go ahead. We've done an audio boil down, and we're going to play a few video clips. Again, when I do a full report on this, we'll get into more detail as we analyze this propaganda. Here's Glenn Beck on several shows, his own, Fox and Friends, and others. Then we cut back to him demonizing Ron Paul supporters and equating us with Timothy McVeigh. This is our champion. This is our friend that's waking up on Fox News, injecting all this Iran's got nuke propaganda in the middle of it. Same propaganda we heard under Bush. Here it is.
I told you that I was going to tell you about the Fema camps or the Fema prisons today. This is something that I snapped on the air because somebody called me up and said, why don't you talk about the Fema prisons? And I said, can we just settle the Fema prison thing? I don't believe in the Fema prison. If these things exist, that's bad. And if they don't exist, it's irresponsible to not debunk this story. We have an independent group on this program looking into it, turning over every stone. I am going to bring you this story. This program is not beholden. This is going to drive the conspiracy theorists crazy. Let me out. I have this. They're making me say this. Help. This program is not beholden to anybody.
Stop right there. He says he's going to cover FEMA camps, and then he makes a joke about they're making me, not say this. Help. So he's discrediting it right there. Let's continue with the clip.
Ourselves, I answer to me. I lost sleep last night worrying about this story, thinking about this story, and wanting to make sure that I got it right. The only thing that I answer to is myself, and I just want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and also sleep at night. Sleep. And I want to make it very clear. I'm not fearing these things are happening. I want to set the record straight because we've got to know what we can believe in. I wanted to debunk these FEMA camps. I'm tired of hearing. You know about them? Sure. I'm tired of hearing. I wanted to debunk them. Well, we've now for several days done research on them. I can't debunk them. It is our government. If you trust our government, it's fine. If you have any kind of fear that we might be headed towards a totalitarian state, look out. Buckle up. There's something going on in our country that is ain't good. Joining me now is Congressman Ron Paul. First of all, on the FEMA prison thing, I know we've been in contact with your office, and we would appreciate any help that you have. I want to make sure we're turning over every stone. There's a lot of crazy stuff that is being said about these things, and I appreciate you talking to us, and we'll be in touch with you again, because I want to make sure that we have everything that you might be concerned with as well. Ron Paul's supporters are tapping into something that's very real. The rising tide of disenfranchisement in this country. If fringe elements take that disenfranchisement and turn it into violence, we endanger the freedoms we're supposedly all fighting for.
They're going after everybody. And here's the thing. At one point, with security so high and tensions on edge, don't you think they're going to get, at the very least, tased or beaten to a pulp by somebody who goes, these people look threatening. They don't look threatening.
The Ron Paul Revolution. I think it's meant to be a catchy slogan, but I fear some of his fringe supporters are taking the word revolution too literally. These truthers are exactly the kind of people who want to rock this nation's foundation, tear us apart, and plant the seeds of dissatisfaction in all of us. These guys are dangerous. I believe these guys are anarchists that are looking to tear us apart. I mean, this is the kind of group that a Timothy McVeigh would come from.
And folks, it goes on and on. This is our little friend that he hates the 9/11 families that say it's an inside job. that he hates 9/11 truthers, and it was a talking point, where, the 9/11 truthers are going to bomb us. They work for Al-Qaeda. On all these news channels, a talking point. Now, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, every major publication, you name it, they've done it. Just type New World Order and pick the name of your newspaper, add it at the end, you'll see articles on Google. I mean, I've done this test. Everyone, everywhere. But they're saying it's good. All these years saying it didn't exist, all these years saying that we were liars and crazies, and we had all the documents and the video clips. Now they admit it's happening, but say it's going to save us. You see, they have to get you to trust them. So if you watch Glenn Beck, well, not even closely, it's completely obvious. Every night, he'll go, yeah, New World Order, global bankers, it's horrible. And then he'll build the fear up and then say, flip it. By the way, Putin's wanting to attack us, and so is Iran, and we've got to go after these guys right now. The terrorists are about to hit us, and I'm worried about the Bubba factor. I'm worried about these gun owners.